Alrighty. Hello. You're speaking to Swashi from 777FX. How do I? Alrighty. Is actually, I'm going to be going over my Nasdaq 100 strategy. And so let's go here. Okay, so the strategy works like this. We find an hourly order block in the direction of price. So if price is bearish, look for a sell off of an order block and vice versa. After you find an hourly order block, you look for a 15-minute order block inside that hourly order block. That's where you'll take your positions off of. Okay. So there's the first example. You place your stop loss above or below the order block, depending on your bias, and you place the target at recent lows or highs. Okay, so it's just an example. Hourly order block, price comes back. We mark the 15-minute order block inside that hourly order block. Price comes back, boom, and our TP would have been at the most recent low. Second example, hourly OB, find a 15-minute OB within, boom, target stop loss right above the OB, target at the most recent low. Okay, we can keep making this. Okay, here's a bullish one, hourly OB, and boom, 15-minute OB, boom. And there we go. Your stop would have been hit though in this example. Obviously, it's not a foolproof method. Okay, is it? I don't really know. Okay, but from what I've back tested, the strategy is 80% accurate. So I could just say it's like you have to know what you're doing for it to work. But yeah, so let's do this. Okay. So now, as you can see, this is Nasdaq at the most current time. I don't even know what the date is today. Let's check that out. Tomorrow's Friday. Beautiful. The 10th of Feb. So let's check this out. Okay, so first we find an hourly OB in the direction of price. As you can see, the most recent one was this gorgeous. But right here, as you can see, this hourly order block created this move, was the source of this bearish move, this bearish candle on the hourly, which is over 200 pips. Over 200 pips a candle. Imagine that. Alrighty, so we find the hourly OB in the direction of price. As you can see now, price was bullish, as you can see before price was bullish, right? But then there was like a stall over here, consolidation right over here, and there was a big bearish move out of the consolidation. So now there was the change of the bias, because now these are all the higher lows, and for price to stay in an uptrend, it has to keep respect to the higher lows. So once it breaks below the higher lows, then we're in a downtrend. Okay, so this shifted the biases. So now we were in a sell bias. We were for sales according to the strategy. So as you can see, hourly OB, we go down to that 15-minute, and we find a 15-minute order block within the hourly order block. So we can just look at this beautiful baby over here within, and we make her blue. This was a gorgeous setup, flipping gorgeous setup. I can't believe how I didn't cash it on. I was really off, I was slacking, but 30 pip stop or even less than that, target of about 200 to 300 pips. Beautiful. Your stop, honestly speaking, come toward this beautiful setup. Okay, let me move the 50 in it. Sorry. So that was setup number one. We delete everything. We go to the 60-minute. Again, we look for another setup. Honestly, this was a setup actually off of this OB right here, but we'll talk about that another time. Let's just look for one in the direction of price. So the most recent OB that I can say, yes, this is one setup, but let's look at this setup, right? So what we try to do is we try to look for a push off the order block, and for some time we like for it to push off the order block for some time, so that we know when it's coming back, it's just gonna tap and go. Okay, we don't look for like this the order block. You see, as this order block here, we don't look for a long bullish move up. We look for a long bullish move up, not just this bullish move up, then a tap of the order block. That's not an ideal setup, but more or less look for this. The order block was created an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Then it came back and tapped it and went to upside. Okay, so that would be in our range. We mark the hourly OB. We go down to the 15-minute. We look for that hourly OB. There's the hourly OB, and then we look for a 15-minute OB within the hourly OB. And beautiful setup right over here. Right over here, as you can see. So classic rules of the setup: entry, TP, quite a big stop loss, stops, 5 double or 5 risk to reward. And actually looking at the fact that Nasdaq was bullish, we would have even held up until, God knows when. But those are the entry rules. Okay, second setup, second ideal setup. That was a very ideal setup. Also, this was an ideal setup. Let's just go into it, because as you can see, hourly OB was created 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's enough hours or enough space or enough distance away from the order block. It didn't instantaneously come back to it. So that's what we look for, hourly OB. We're going to look for a 15-minute OB within that hourly OB. And there we go. There is our 15-minute OB, and we missed this trade. Sad, but it happens. And we missed this trade. Now people will be like, you do place them sometimes like this. I do place it sometimes at this point. But honestly, one thing I'd like to add to the strategy is psychological numbers. I didn't write it down in the PDF. This is a modification of that. So we look for either 100 levels or 50 levels. That's that. All right, sometimes quarterly levels as the 25 and the 75. But for now, it's just 100 levels and the 50 levels. Okay, so that's the closest. There's a 50 level right over here, and also 55 sometimes, but there's the 50 level. So that would have been an ideal entry. An ideal entry of the 50 setup. Then we look for the 100. The 100 is actually pretty far. As you can see, this would have been our entry point, honestly speaking. But it is where it is at this point. Remember this one, we would have, okay, so sometimes when it really depends on the strategy itself, if there is an hourly, if there's a 50 or 100 mark, because here there was no 50 or 100 mark, but still we would have gotten entry of the OB, right? Yes, there's a 75 mark, but we don't already mark that as of yet. Okay, let's just keep going through the strategy. We're going to do a couple examples. You guys are going to see. I'm also going to learn a lot. So, okay, that's over with. That's over with. This was actually a good setup, but this was a good setup. This was a good sell setup. OB, hourly. A 15 OB within the hourly OB. Looking at it, we would actually made this our OB. But here's the 50 mark over here. It came in at the 50 mark of the hourly OB. We didn't find a 50 inner 15-minute OB. Actually, here's the inner 15-minute OB. Here's the inner 15-minute OB. And then we enter at a 50 level, as you can see, 60. And there's our 50 level. That would have been a safe entry of the 50 level. In deep retracement to the OB. Tap the OB. Entry. Tight stop. Less than 20 pips. Target of around 80 pips, and it did fall to about 300 pips. Yeah, that's Nasdaq for you guys. It happens. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Alrighty, so let's go. Now we're going to be looking for one side. Sorry about that. This side. See, there was a lot of them. Setups, but let's look at the earliest one, which would be setup right here. Is the hourly OB. We go down to the 15 minutes. Okay, let's go. Okay, that was the hourly OB. And that was the 50-minute OB within the hourly OB, which is about the same size as the hourly OB. And as you can see, there was a sell setup. We traced deep into the OB, too deep, a little bit too deep into the OB. So if we entered the cells at this point and our stops above here would have been taken out. Okay, so you see that, but it didn't come back and tap it twice, but we look for the first move off. Okay, so price might come back to the order block, but remember, as price comes back to the same order block and taps it multiple times, the weaker it gets. So that's why we don't really trade them like that. Okay, so we're looking for a first touch of the OB, and then that's our ideal setup. We would have hit stop loss over there. Not a problem. These things happen. Okay, the next one we look like that is this beautiful order block that was created in that same area. And we go down to the 50-minute. See. And then once we're in the 15-minute, we look for an inner 15 order block within the hourly OB with us. As you can see, entry rules, move off the OB. Let's look for a psychological number. Okay, so the closest psychological number is actually 800, 00 level, 00 level. I would say, I'm not gonna lie, I would say using the 00 levels and the 50 levels with this strategy, they're not, I wouldn't say they're not efficient, right? We use them, right? But now our ideal entries, right? So our criteria for entries is we just look to enter off the 15-minute OB. Yes, if the 15-minute OB does correspond to a 00 level or a 50 level, great, more Confluence. But we shouldn't really rely on the zones. As you can see, would have wicked our stops, would have placed a stop above the wick, but would have wicked our stops and would have fell to our TP, which would have been most recent low, which is what, 300 pips away, scalping it. And we did come back to the zone, we would have had our stops and break even. And if we held, hoping for eventually this move, which never happened, down to this level, we would have been taking out the trade, but we would have taken partials, right? So as you can see, price did come back and tap the 50-minute OB inside, and also, sorry about that, just wait for it to go. Alrighty, and also then rejected off of this level, right? Showed this was an hourly rejection of the 800 level and then dropped. So I'd say our first entry would be here, then our second entry would be right after it plummets below the 800 level, because that would be confirming that now it right after it closes below the 800 level, that would be confirming that, okay, cool, now we're bearish. Then we would have entered and wrote it down again. So excuse me. Okay, so let's look for another setup. Okay, so out of all the setups we've done, I don't know how many, 4. Only one has hit stop loss. This one we just did almost hit stop loss, very close, but it did it. Okay, so that was the OB. It actually eventually came back. So what other setup would we look for? Let's look up here. Sorry about that, I am tired. This right here, but then no, it's not a setup at all. This would have been a setup, but I'm pretty sure we would have hit stop loss with this setup, because this was actually, okay, hold on. There's none on this side. Do you see how you would have not traded for such a long time? Okay, because this strategy is not a strategy. Okay, let me rephrase my words. This is our strategy to trade Nasdaq on the intraday. For swing moves like these, we have our own strategy, right? We should be trading the macro to macro zone trading. This is just for scalping, quick in and out trades, intraday, Nasdaq, easy. And this is great to actually catch in my open move, but let's move on. This would have been our 50-minute OB within the hourly OB. And price did actually come back down, tap the 50-minute OB. Our entry would have been up right at the top of the OB, TP at the most recent high, TP at the most recent high, and it should be in 50 pips, and our stop loss right below, which would have been hits. And then once away these things happen, it's life, dog. It's life. It's life. It's life. It's life. It happens. It happens. Let's go. Move on. And that would have been a failed setup, the first failed setup. And looking forward like this. And this would have been the very next setup, which obviously failed. And then this beautiful setup right here. And it really depends on how much more order blocks. If they're very full order blocks like this, okay, bad example. If they're very full order blocks like this, okay, like the candle I draw my order block from is actually full. I draw from the open, okay, not the open, there. I draw from the top of the body to the low of the wick, and vice versa for the other way around. As you can see, body and wick. But now for an order block like this, I would draw from wick to wick because it's not a full order block. So I draw from wick to wick. As you can see, this is quite a big order block. We were actually looking at that zone for so long, we didn't get an entry off there. Story of my life. Okay, let's go. Okay, this would have been our ideal entry right at the bottom here. We would have not entered at all if we didn't get the shift down here. We didn't, did we? Came very close, but we didn't. Okay, so alrighty, let's do one more setup. Then I also want to drop another gem. Okay, another setup right here. Beautiful OP setup right here. Remember, it's not a full wick. I'm drawing this order block. It's not a full. So I'll go from body to wick to wick. Go down to the 15-minute. It's blue. Go down to the 15-minute. Go down to the 15-minute. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So this was the wick up. Okay, we don't look at this. We're looking for this 15-minute OP right over here. There's a lot of clutter. I'm not gonna cap a lot of fucking clutter in this OB. So it's not that clear, but there's it. There's it. Found you. It's basically 1, 2 of these candles before that big move up. Boom. Okay. Then entry of here, stop loss right above the OB, which would have been taken now, TP right here, but we didn't enter this trade. But beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 250 plus pips that we would have possibly gotten if. Righty, so let's do the next setup. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I just want us to keep going through this. And you know, one by one. This was a beautiful setup. One clap up or remember going like this. This was a beautiful setup. This was a beautiful setup. Like these are just beautiful setups. These 1, 2, 3. These are from 12 Jan up until like 18th or 19th, I would have been smiling because I would have just been selling Nasdaq and hitting TP. Beautiful TPs too, beautiful TPs too, beautiful TPs too, beautiful TPs too. Right, so just using the same setup consistently, because there is a time where it will consistently fail for like a week. You get the right setup, everything, and then hit stop loss, goes your way, or just rejects below it. Really get those weeks and days. But when you do get the good weeks and the good days like this, you'll be smiling using the strategy. But let's go. So first will be black. Is it? Go deeper into it. Okay, let's wait. Beautiful, 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 beautiful setup. Boom, boom. This is the whole B. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. 30 pip stop, quite a wide stop for Nasdaq. TPs, you choose 80, 180, 280, you choose. In 100 intervals, 100 pips, 80 pips, plus 100 pips, plus another 100 pips. You know, beautiful, 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 beautiful. That looks like a clean drop, clean. Bit of consolidation, drop to the bottom. Come on, 3-tab, boom, and then right off this move, stocks at break even. You're riding clean, risk free. But let's go. I'm gonna do the last 3 or 4 setups, and then we're gonna go into the ID50 setup, which will be completing on Nasdaq intraday strategy, which will be we'll be using the hourly to 50-minute OB strategy, which is the one I'm teaching, and then we also use the ID50, and then we're done. Like that's us trading for. That's us done trading on some real shit. That's all we need. Strategies, and we're done psychology. We make money on an everyday basis using this. Okay, using the same damn shit. Same damn shoes. Alright, you would have missed this gorgeous entry. This would have been gorgeous. Come up here, tap, boom. So we missed this entry, even though yes, on the hourly did tap. You know the rules. My battery, sorry. Let's just do the last setup and cover the ID50 setup. And yes, I'll be done. I'll be done. Okay, so let's go here. And this was a big wick to wick OB, gigantic wick to wick OB. And inside OB. So now, based on accounts, really depends on you how much you want to trade with, your risk appetite, and all of that. With this comes with a certain level of where would if we make OB, this one right here, right? From wick would have been good, but you know, being realistic. Boom. This is a gorgeous setup. Boom, tap, stop loss right above, white stop, and choose how much you want. Would have taken 130 pips easy, 450 pips easy, or eventually you looking for up to 800 pip move, really depending on you and how long you're willing to hold. So now exactly you'd hold this. For now, I suggest you do one thing, okay? Find an account with whatever money, open up a 0.01 and just trade one setup, one trade, one setup, one trade. Just build that discipline, build that discipline up until you can start stacking and making more and more money, okay? When you're truly confident in your own craft. Okay, I think that was the last setup. As you can see, out of, I don't know how many setups we went through. I think we went through about 10 or 11. And I think 2 or 3 failed, so around 70 to 80% accuracy, which was what I expected the first time, what I anticipated. The Nasdaq is plummeting. Nasdaq is plummeting to around here or here. It really depends. I really think it'll buy off of this level right here. That's this. So now the ID50 setup. What is the ID50 setup? The ID50 setup, ID stands for intraday 50. Okay, so we use the 50 EMA. I like to make mine blue. It really depends on you. So what we do, we only trade one time frame, the hourly. Nothing below that, nothing above that, just the hourly. We trade one setup, one type of setup. Let me teach you the setup. This is from BTMM. I'm not taking credit from this. I really learned the strategy from BTMM. I don't know whose course I was going through. So that's where I actually learned this stuff. So anybody can go and learn BTMM. I am not using this as I created it. No, I did not. It is a very great strategy. I use it. All right. So this is what we look for in the ID50, the EMA signaling change of direction, and then we look for a retest back at the EMA, right, and the sell. So this was a gorgeous setup already, right? It doesn't always work, okay, but let's go. So there's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful target, recent highs. You stop loss, totally up to you at this point. I can't tell you. It really depends on you as a trader. So, okay, so let's check this out. And then second setup, this was gorgeous, break, retest, boom, really depends on you as a trader. I'm already gonna go over this setup a lot. As you can see, break, boom, retest, boom, retest, boom, retest, boom, retest, boom, retest. You know what I'm saying? This is the setup. This is it, God. This is it. This one failed us, as you can see, and came back, broke the EMA. It out of I don't know how many times. Okay, let's just go back and see how many times that strategy did work and how many times it didn't. So this one worked, 2 worked, 3 worked, 4 worked, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this doesn't count, so 4, 5, no, and 6, it didn't work. First of all, break 6, it didn't work. Break 7, it didn't work. And this was choppy, don't trade choppy price action. Boom, we'll count this as it didn't work, and boom, it worked. So out of 10, 3 times it didn't work, or around 3 or 4. So it's around 70% accurate too. It really depends on you. So now the entry was for the strategy. It really depends on you, honestly speaking. So we look for a break of the EMA and a retest to the EMA. So we would have combined it with Confluence or order block. You know, boom, tap the order block below the EMA, start selling. You know what I'm saying? Boom, break the EMA order block, start selling. You see what I'm saying? Even here, it broke below, but like selling off the order block. It did try, it took out stop losses. That would have been an L. Okay, break above, boom, tap the EMA would have taken buys. It sold hard. So now it really depends on how you integrate the strategy into your own trading style. I honestly, this is just fundamentals on how exactly we trade Nasdaq here on our side, right? But that's me. I've taught you guys the hourly to 50-minute OB strategy. I've also taught you guys the ID50, and that's basically all you need to trade Nasdaq from now on. You can refine it, back test, use it your own way, and I really do hope you guys learn from this as I have learned from it.